I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 25th, brought to you in part by Ag Defense Risk Management. To lock in a profit or just peace of mind, contact the LRP specialists and find out how affordable and user-friendly LRP really is. Go to agdefenserm.com. Hand to mouth. That's the way some of these packers are, and it's likely more so your regionals that don't have as many contract cattle or captive supply cattle promised to them already. But man, they're getting downright desperate for cattle. I talked to one of my friends, a feeder flash gang member that I get information from. He sold fat cattle to a regional packer, and within 2 hours he was loading the trucks. And that you just don't hear that. That's unbelievable. I do believe it because he wouldn't fib to me, but I'm just saying it doesn't happen very often at all. Now, we've seen $1.30 paid, more than one spot, not just a deal here, a deal there. $1.30 has been paid, but I've only seen it by regionals. Haven't seen any majors have to give that yet. We've seen some 208. And fairly significant amounts of 208 dressed, but also that's just been by the regionals. These regionals are thinking, hey, that formula deal where you tie up everybody's cattle, that looks like a pretty good deal, but when they're not harvesting that many, it's hard for them to get into deep vats of formula type cattle and captive supplies and to keep working through them all the time. But we're just everything is positive right now. We've absolutely got these packers where we want them. Probably going to stay that way over the next several months. Guys need to make hay right now. And like I said, ask more for cattle, demand more from them, your cattle. We've seen just everything showing how short bought these packers are. And like I said, to start off with, hand to mouth, we had a very bullish cold storage report on beef. They've pretty much depleted their coffers of frozen beef there that they had kind of stacked up, during the pandemic and when stuff wasn't moving very good. They pretty much depleted them. We've seen reports in major media come out that food service is having a really hard time keeping their shelves stocked and supplying their customers with their needs. And it's not only beef, but all sorts of food and even ketchup packets and what have you. It's just having a hard time keeping things rolling. But demand is still great out there. They can shut things down, but people are still going to eat. And people don't raise their own food, so they have to get it from somewhere. And so that doesn't stop their need for food, even though you make them wear masks or show some kind of a proof that they've had an unverified vaccination just to go into a facility or something like that. They're still going to eat somewhere. That's something that you kind of need to do every day. But I tell you what, you guys, don't feel bad about taking advantage of it. My God, remember whenever, we were in the worst of the pandemic over a year and a half ago, and you couldn't get anything moved, and they just backed the market up and they started making as much as $2,500 a head. Well, they backed that way off, but then they ran up these box beef cutout values. Here of late, they're back to making over $1,000 a head. Any of you packers or you cattle feeders out there that are making over $1,000 a head, well, then you can start feeling sorry, for these packers. But I don't know anybody that's honestly making anywhere near that. A lot of guys might be making $200, $300, $400 a head. Fantastic, congratulations. That's what it takes to operate. So let's keep that going and get this market position up there. I've seen it. It's happened. We've got $1.30 now. It may not be my major, but so far that's your live market in the north is 130. Let's stand on it. Let's stay with it and keep selling them that way. Let's look at the board on Tuesday. It kind of just flip-flopped from what it did on Monday. Monday was a big gainer. And and Tuesday we didn't lose everything we'd gained by any means, but it was just the way that it worked out was kind of unusual and confusing there. But August live cattle futures down 65 cents at 125.80. October was down 25 cents at 131.70, and then all of your, if you go on to the future from there on your back months, they were all higher. Now, not the we didn't see the big moves that we saw on Monday, but still, it's kind of curious that first two traded months were lower, and then on the backside they were all higher. But go on the backside, they were 35 to 62 cents higher. August feeder cattle up 37, even though we've got a huge disparity between your August quoted feeder cattle price and your CME cash feeder cattle index, which those have to line up here within just a few days. And how that's going to happen when you got the CME set at 155.73 latest available, and your August feeder cattle contract 158.57, almost $3 more, and it was up 37 cents on Tuesday's session. That that they don't, CME doesn't want to have to kick in and start paying up on the cash settlement. They want those to come together, and they will come together. They'll come together. How that happens, it's probably going to have to be that your August feeder cattle takes a dump here the next 2 or 3 days, because I don't see how they're going to be able to run CME index up $3 in the next few days. It won't happen. August feeder cattle contract will have to back up to it. September was down big. It was funny because August, even though it knows it has to meet up with that index price, was a little bit higher, and then September down big, or down $1.52. $1.50 was a daily limit at one time, but at 165.77, all the rest of them were down. Your back months on feeder cattle down 45 to down $1.30. You think, well, what's up with that? Well, corn was up. On Tuesday's session. So it's still kind of on a pulley. If you see one go up, the other one's going down. But new crop December corn up 9 3/4 cents at 5.45 1/4 a bushel. Your fat cattle trade, we saw a little bit more trade in the Northern Plains. Southern Plains hasn't even thought about trading anything yet. Northern Plains hasn't traded much, but it's mostly been done by regionals and at sharply higher prices. Iowa had about 1,000 head confirmed on Tuesday, about 2,500 head for the week. The one live price that was quoted was 130. There it is. And dress prices, and it was just on mixed bag cattle, from 199 to 208. Now, likely we saw more trade, later that'll go on tomorrow's report, because the ones that I heard happened later in the day. But it was to regionals, and it was still that 130 and 208. Nebraska, 700 head confirmed on Tuesday, about 2,500 head for the week, including that big family feeding operation that sold at 129.75 on Monday. But 130 is the market, guys, in the north. I wouldn't take a penny less. But 2,500 head for the week there so far in Nebraska, which is nothing. Didn't have any live sales quoted. Dress sales from 206 to 208. Kansas, nothing to report on Tuesday. Texas had a few loads of plainer cattle there at 122, which was last week's market, but it should be higher too. Yankton, South Dakota had their fat cattle auction, brick and mortar sale there. Stockman's Livestock called the market, a friend of mine that was watching that, steady to $1 higher. Your fat cattle in the ring there, in your highest end, higher end of them were non-implanted or drug-free cattle, but from 126 up to 135, and they had major packers in there bidding on cattle too. So, I sure wouldn't take a penny less than 130 in the north. And 208, your dress market, I heard people that got offered 208 and turned it down. So, guys are learning how to negotiate again as they're starting to get the leverage back. Box beef cutout values were actually lower for the first time, first session in many, your box beef values, they found a ceiling, it seems like. But choice cuts on Tuesday afternoon, $347.58, which was off just 45 cents. But select cuts were down $2.50 at $316.90. Your slaughter is faltering just a little bit. We're expecting another big harvest like last week, but they're having some little piddly deals that are kind of slowing them down. You know, we haven't heard any major problems with labor getting in there. A lot of rumors about labor problems in the plants, but more so they're just little mechanical breakdowns that's kind of slowing things down. But 236,000 through Tuesday, 4,000 less than last week, is all 1,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about some of your feeder cattle market reports. How about the video that was going on this week? Northern livestock video up there, the Goggins and the whole gang up there in Billings, Montana. But I had a feeder flash gang member that I've corresponded with many times. And the name of his operation is Lepley Creek Ranch. And I tell you what, you talk about some nice people. And their outfitters up there at Lepley Creek Ranch, and I've threatened to go up there. It's north of Cascade, Montana. Go up there and do some fishing. I'm not much of a hunter. I hate to admit that, but I'm just not. But I've threatened to go up there and spend some time and just see that part of the country. I'd love to go up there sometime, but if you guys you want to know of a place to go that's got cowboys there, and they're running a working ranch. It's not some kind of a dude ranch or something, but it's an outfitter type deal that you'd like to go to and spend some time recreation, hunting and fishing. Lepley Creek Ranch. But they sold some cattle on Northern Livestock Video on Tuesday. There's 90 head of them, but they were weaned. The key part is weaned. I'm thinking the days of these big videos just pouring train loads of balling calves into guys and expecting to get top prices for them are about over. You know, there's no reason, just because you're a big ranch and you've got ranch raised cattle and big strings of them, that doesn't mean that you should get a free pass on weaning your calves. You know, and you know, you can not do it, but you're not going to get top price. You're not going to get top billing anymore for those. And I don't care how good your vaccination program is, and you can call them all natural. Well, it's real easy to be all natural on calves. You just don't do anything to them. But Lepley Creek Livestock had 90 head of weaned steers, blacks and black baldies. That's as good as you need. Blacks and black baldies, no programs on them, but weaned. That's the key. 90 head of weaned steers to weigh 6 1/4. The other key was a February delivery. 90 head weaned steers, 6 1/4, February delivery at $190.75. Big time price. Congratulations to them. How about your brick and mortar sales? Real time index on DV auction late in the day on Tuesday at 155.83. That's up 47 cents compared to the end of Monday's trade. How about some of your big sales on Tuesday? Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri, 1,400 head in the ring. Another 1,100 head on their in-house video that they do with DV auction. They get along really well with that. It's hot, and it's hot and sticky in south central Missouri. Imagine that in the middle of August. But steer calves unevenly steady, heifer calves steady to $4 higher. Not a good test of yearlings in the ring, but just it's kind of the way it is over in that part of the country. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma. I always talk about them in their Wednesday sales, but they sell calves on Tuesday, starting to get bigger runs on Tuesday. And I don't care where you're at in these United States, your runs, the percentage of your total receipts are going to be more calves progressively as we go forward now. But OKC West had 1,600 calves on Tuesday. They sold about steady, and pretty good quotes coming out of there. They're doing a good job on those too. But some individual quotes all around the circuit there. How about Miles City Livestock Commission? You know, those drought regions, they're having to sell these calves a lot lighter than they're used to doing, and a lot earlier. You know, most of the calf run is going to be done by mid to late October, where normally that would be right whenever it's going good. But look at Miles City, sold 107 head of 401 pound Pee-wee steer calves at $222. Pretty good quote right there. How about Rezac Livestock Commission? Denny Rezac and Company there, they had about 1,800, a lot of loads of 8-weight steers. You look at this market report and you see the feeder weights there were ranging from $2 to as much as $10 higher, maybe even more than last week, and about that good on the heifers too. But look, your best tested weight was on steers, 813 head of 8-weight steers in St. Mary's, Kansas, averaged 851 at 158.96. That's a big time quote. That's on all your 8-weight steers, and they were mostly in loads there at Rezac Livestock Commission, but you know, averaging just over 8.5 and almost 159. Big time quote. How about Lawley Brothers Livestock Market, Macon, Missouri? They do good. This is a big time quote. Now you look at your real-time index was just under 156, right in line with what your CME cash feeder cattle index is. That's based on an 800-pound steer. In Macon, Missouri, at Lawley Brothers Livestock Market, they had a load 68 head of 805-pound steers, bring $167. That's $11 over what those index levels are. How about Messina Livestock in Messina, Iowa? I talked to a friend of mine that was there. He saw 2 loads of steers there that were back, you know, they'd been grown up there, weighed 778 on the average. 2 loads of them bring 168.25. That's awful good. How about Kingsville Livestock Auction, the Anstein family there? They do a good job. And Steve Varner always sells his cattle there that he backgrounds. He sold a load of 839-pound steers at $164. That might be even more impressive, weighing that deep into the 8s at 839 pounds. But the best quote that I saw anywhere, and your Zactran top quote from the day, come from a little market there in south central Nebraska. Alma Livestock Auction in Alma, Nebraska, sold 60 head of 952-pound steers at $162. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.